So, when you think of Jamestown, what comes to mind? Probably survival, right? The harsh winters, the starving time, the very beginnings of a new nation. But there was this other mission, a founding principle that was supposed to define the entire colony, and yet it ended up as one of its biggest failures. This is the story of that doomed effort to convert Native Americans.
I mean, look at this. This was the official sales pitch. It's written right into the Virginia Company's 1606 charter. The mission wasn't just about finding gold or claiming land. It was explicitly and very grandly about spreading Christianity. This was the big promise they made to the king, to all their investors, and really to the whole world.
Okay, so if that was the official mandate, if that was supposed to be job number one, what happened? How did this grand spiritual mission not only fail, but fail so completely and so spectacularly? Well, that is the central question we're going to dig into right now.
To find the answer, we first have to look at the massive gap between what the Jamestown colonists said they were going to do and what they actually did once their boots hit the ground in Virginia.
And this slide right here gets to the heart of the problem. The charter talked a big game about religion, which, let's be honest, was a great justification for getting investment back home. But the colonists' day-to-day reality? It was brutal survival, and then, very quickly, it was all about the pursuit of wealth through tobacco. There were no dedicated missionary groups like the Jesuits or Franciscans you saw in New Spain. Spreading the faith was, at best, a secondary thought.
And when they did try their hand at evangelism, it was often pretty clumsy. Just take the so-called coronation of Chief Powhatan. To the English, this was a brilliant move. They thought they were making him a subject of King James, and by extension, a subject of their God. But Powhatan, he saw right through it. To him, it wasn't an honor, it was a power play, an insult to his own authority. He flat out refused, and that one moment just perfectly shows the huge cultural canyon between them.
But despite all these missteps, the English did have one apparent success story, one that they promoted for all it was worth. And of course, I'm talking about the story of Pocahontas.
The English basically framed her life as the perfect four-step playbook. Step 1, convert and take an English name. Step 2, assimilate into English culture. Step 3, solidify a political alliance through marriage. And step 4, the big one, use her as a propaganda piece in London to prove that the savages could be civilized. She literally became the poster child for the whole project.
But here's the crucial point. It wasn't a model at all. It was a complete one-off, a totally unique situation born out of very specific political circumstances. It was never a strategy they could just repeat to convert the entire Powhatan nation. And pretty soon, even this fragile piece was about to be shattered.
Everything changed in 1622. This year marks the definitive, bloody end to any real pretense of peaceful conversion in Virginia. This was the point of no return.
The Powhatan, now led by Opechancanough, launched a massive, coordinated surprise attack on the English settlements. The devastation was just immense. They killed about a quarter of the entire colonial population and wiped some settlements, like one called Henricus, completely off the map.
And the English response was swift and absolute. The mission of persuasion? That was officially over. The new policy, in the chilling words of one colonist, was a war to root out the Powhatan from being any longer a people. The goal literally shifted overnight, from conversion to extermination.
Now, what's really interesting here, and a part of the story that often gets lost, is that the 1622 uprising didn't just end the religious mission, it also destroyed a surprisingly ambitious educational project that was just getting started. Believe it or not, the Virginia Company had set aside 10,000 acres of land to build a college specifically for Native Americans. The idea was to create this new generation of anglicized Christian leaders. And people all across England had actually donated money to fund this thing.
Think about that. A university for Native Americans in 1619. This plan was decades ahead of its time. So what on earth happened to this incredible project?
Well, it became another casualty of the uprising. The settlement of Henricus, where the college was supposed to be built, was annihilated. The dream of a university in the Virginia wilderness died before a single cornerstone was really laid.
But here is a fascinating, ironic twist of history. The money that had been collected for Henrico College didn't just disappear. Years later, those funds were rerouted north to another English colony, and they helped found a different university. You might have heard of it, Harvard College.
So let's pull all these threads together.
When you really look at the evidence, it becomes crystal clear that this mission was pretty much doomed from the very beginning, and for a few key reasons.
Unlike the Spanish or the French colonies, Virginia had no dedicated class of missionaries. Their entire relationship with the Powhatan was almost entirely defined by conflict over land. And most importantly, the Powhatan correctly saw any attempt at conversion not as some kind of spiritual gift, but as a demand for political submission.
See, for the Powhatan, this was never just about theology. Their religion, their political power, and their sacred connection to the land, it was all one and the same. You couldn't separate them. So to accept the Englishman's God meant they would have to renounce their own sovereignty and submit to the authority of the very people who were taking everything from them.
And the legacy of this failure was profound. It set a pattern of cultural separation, not integration. The Powhatan's refusal to convert was then used by the English as a moral justification to seize their land, and it even shaped where future Protestant missions decided to focus their efforts.
It really all comes down to a fundamental, totally unsolvable contradiction right at the heart of the entire Jamestown project.
The truth is, you simply cannot expect a people to embrace your faith while you are actively taking their world away from them. The two goals just completely cancel each other out. You know, the English colonists spent years asking themselves, how can we get them to accept our God? But the Powhatan people were asking a much deeper, much more urgent question.
And really, that's the question this whole history leaves us with. It reframes the entire story. It's not just a failure of missionary tactics. It's a completely rational response to an absolutely impossible situation.